Finding new customers sounds exhausting all the time, personally. So I also think that it's a lot easier to, once somebody has found you and decided to purchase with you, it's a lot easier to love on them and nurture them in that relationship and keep them coming back for more than it is to try and find new people consistently to purchase from you one time and then you start that cycle over and over, right?
Welcome to the Thrive by Design podcast. Hey there, it's Tracy Matthews. I'm so excited. I have a special guest on the show today. Welcome to our head coach, Chelsea Farmer. Chelsea.
Hello, thanks for having me back again.
Yay, we're recording this in a little bit of a different way because I'm going to do the intro and the outro all together with Chelsea because we're excited. We're going to be launching a brand new free challenge that gets started in 2 weeks called Supercharge Your Online Sales. You may have heard the name before because we love the name so much, but the content is new and we are going to be talking about a lot of different ways that you can get more traffic to your website and use online methods and even offline methods to grow your online sales so that you get out of your feast and famine cycle with your business. Now, Chelsea, before we dive in, what's your favorite thing about the Supercharge Your Online Sales Challenge and our challenges in general?
Our challenges in general, I absolutely love seeing people come in, do the work, and leave with so much implemented. They instantly are growing their businesses in real time, and that's my favorite thing. As far as the supercharge your online sales, people are making sales during the challenge by implementing what we're teaching them, and I love watching that. I love watching people bring in the dollars.
It's insanely fun and I love it. My goal is always at the end of one of these to help people make money. And so if you've made some money or even progress or built your email list or something, then you're in the right place and you know that you are crushing it. So if you want to join us for that, it's completely free to join. It's starting April 8th. Head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/supercharge. And we have a link right there where you can just join us for that free challenge. We're going to be sending you some emails to tell you what to expect. And we're excited to play with you. It's going to be super fun, right in time for post-Easter and post-spring break and post-Passover probably engagement and fun. So Chelsea, I wanted to have you on the show today, for a very specific reason. You are a badass at customer loyalty. And we've talked about this a lot in our challenges. You've trained on this in our programs. And so before we dive into the content here and why customer loyalty is so important, why don't you give us just a quick background on you, your jewelry business, kind of where you are now, what you love about coaching for Flourish and Thrive, and all the things.
Yes, I'll start with what I love about coaching for Flourish and Thrive. So I love helping other jewelry designers really implement things in their business that help them grow to the size company that they want to have, whether that is just passive income or if that is a thriving full-time business and company with employees or a retail store. That is what I love about being a coach, is helping them really pinpoint what their goals are and then achieve their goals with them. A little bit about me and my company. I started my jewelry business, HorseFeathers Gifts, about 15 years ago. My granny came up with the name for it. Yeah, there's no real fun story there. And I am a graduate from GIA. I worked as a bench jeweler and doing hand engraving at a small jewelry store in Kentucky for a few years, and then actually went back to doing beaded jewelry because I really loved it and it's a lot more affordable to get into. And it's an easier hobby to have than fine jewelry as a hobby. So I started doing it a little bit part-time at first for probably about 6 or 8 months. And then I just decided to dive into my business full-time. And within a year, I was on Fox News. I was at the Oscars. I was doing all kinds of crazy things. It kind of took off really well and really good. And I just kept up with the momentum and kept it growing. And although my style has changed over the years and the types of products that I make have changed, I still have a lot of my original customers shopping with me, which I think is really cool and really fun. So that's kind of what we're going to get into talking about today.
Well, the cool part about that is that this is literally the definition of the desire journey, or in the desire brand effect. It's bringing your customers with you for the long haul, because the more that you can increase your return customer rate, the more that people buy from you over and over again, the more true fans you collect, not only the easier it is to grow your business, but you always have customers waiting when you're doing a next collection drop. And the thing about Chelsea that's really incredible, number one, she's an amazing coach. So if you haven't been coached by Chelsea, join one of our programs because she is epic. And her patience and dedication to the students is remarkable. And the thing I love about her is that she can talk on such a variety and a wide breadth of topics because she really has almost done everything in a jewelry business. She had a retail store, she's done wholesale, she has also a really thriving direct to consumer online business. She's good at social media. She has a Facebook group. She's done live selling. Like she's literally done everything. She's got publicity. She's been on TV. So if you want to ask her anything, she can answer it. That's the awesome thing. Plus, she's really amazing at holding people accountable for what they say they're going to do. And that's really the core of what we teach in some of our programs, like Train Your Customers to Buy From You Online and our Momentum program, which is our coaching program. So I'm excited to talk about this because we've uncovered many times, and we've even shown the behind the scenes screenshots of Chelsea's Shopify store blowing up in 5 minutes, selling out of products, where I'm just like, do you remember that time when you sent me that video?
Yeah.
You're
I was
like,
like, if you need content for
yeah, just send this. We need to
coaching
do
with
another
me.
one of those soon. It's so fun. She recorded her screen of her computer on her Shopify site in 5 minutes, completely sold out of her collection. And I think you made, how much was it that time? Do you remember? Like
That was actually only one product. That was
one
a
product, it was like
product release.
$20,000 or something. I can't
Yeah.
remember. It was a lot of money. It was.
Yeah. It went really, really fast.
So it's cool to watch this. And the reason being is that we're going to share some of the ways that she gets people to buy her stuff and
Yeah.
become loyal fans. So why don't we dive into that? So you have this 80.9% return customer rate.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about how you're doing this, because literally, how is this possible?
So yeah, first off, I created a customer loyalty program. It's not that different from the old school punch cards at coffee shops or bakeries. Nowadays, you have like your Starbucks app that's rewarding you for coming back. And so I implemented one of those into my business. I've had it for 8 years now. They might be a little more common now. I don't think people are executing them in the way that they should, but I do teach on that. So, but that's the first thing I did is build a customer loyalty program to reward my customers for staying loyal to me and shopping with me on repeat. So,
I love that. That's insane. So I know there's a lot of different ways to create loyalty and to get people engaged. So I want to
yeah,
walk through some of those things now. And
yeah,
we even talked about it on our Instagram live earlier, one of your fun
yeah,
strategies. So my next
yeah.
question to
So,
you is, why do you think having this loyal return customer rate is so important to growing your business? And why is that more important than just only finding new customers?
finding new customers sounds exhausting all the time, personally. So I also think that it's a lot easier to, once somebody has found you and decided to purchase with you, it's a lot easier to love on them and nurture them in that relationship and keep them coming back for more than it is to try and find new people consistently to purchase from you one time and then you start that cycle over and over, right? It's kind of like if you spend all this time and energy getting people into your storefront and then they never come back again. You're like, well, that was exhausting. I ran
Yeah.
ads, I did all these things, and they only came one time, right? You're also spending a lot of time and energy just to get somebody to show up and purchase with you once.
They say it's 10 times more expensive to get a new customer than it is to sell to an existing customer. And I really do believe that's
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And if you can create a loyal customer base too, and you're rewarding them, it's a lot easier for like my business grew by word of mouth. We have never ran ads. We're talking about dabbling in that this year finally, but that's 15 years in that we've never ran ads for our business. And so our customer loyalty program is really great because our customers have such a good experience with us that, and the way I've structured our loyalty program is that they even get rewarded for sharing about us with their friends and family. And then those members come in and they're getting rewarded for being there because they were invited. So it really starts to feel like this like invitation, cool kids club kind of group that we have at this point. So, and it's a very large customer base. It's not just like 30 people.
Yeah, it is large. Have you been in her Facebook group? It's like so engaged. I feel like people are always just like posting like, look at my stack today, look at what I'm
Yeah.
wearing today, like look at my koozie, look at this, like
Yeah.
all of it. And it's
And
all,
then another really fun thing about it is that because of the way that we love on our customers and nurture them and try and create relationships with them, they end up creating relationships with each other too. It always puts a smile on my face when I see like on my personal Facebook, I see customers that I become friends with now, and
Mhm.
another customer comments on their page, and I know that they only met each other inside of my Facebook group, but now they're like outside of our community, friends on social platforms, like cheering each other on for like running a half marathon or doing something fun. It's just really cool to see that the relationships have grown that we've put together inside of our community via our loyalty program has now created these like lifelong relationships outside of our company.
So there's a lot of, we're going to talk about loyalty programs and different ways that you've created ambassadors and some tactics that you're doing to get people to open your emails and stuff like that. But I do want to touch on this idea of community around your brand, because that is one thing. Like we talked a little bit earlier, I touched on this idea of true fans. There is an article or an essay written by a guy named Kevin Kelly, who was the original guy to kind of talk about the idea of 1,000 true fans. And the philosophy is basically if you have 1,000 true fans who buy from you every year and they spend $100, then you could easily make $100,000 as an artist. Now, some people want to sell a lot more than that. Some people don't care about selling $100,000. Some people want to sell millions. And so, but if you understand that philosophy, if you can reverse engineer based on your average price point and how much your average customer order value is, you can calculate how many customers do you need to actually reach your sales goal. And that is super fun. So that this idea of creating community around your brand and creating connection even inside of the community with different people, not just a connection with Chelsea and the other members of HorseFeathers, can be such a powerful way to literally grow and expand your brand. So why don't we dive into this? Like, what are some of the ways or the strategies that you've used to create more brand awareness and create that loyalty that creates this community and keeps people coming back?
Yeah, so I kind of touched on this. It's like I like to think of it as like if you had it like I said, if there's a new store in town that you go to and you have a great experience there, you're more likely to keep going back to that place, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then if you walk into a store and you have a bad experience, you're probably not going to go back. And so if you went into the one store, had a great experience, and they maybe are rewarding you by coming back with like a
Yeah.
punch card or some sort of system that keeps you coming back, I feel like one thing is that's telling you immediately that they value you and where you are choosing to spend your dollars, right? They're instantly telling you, thank you for coming in instead of like, see you later. That also helps prevent people from price shopping because we don't want that. We don't want people
Right.
to just be in the land of like the Etsy mindset of, on Etsy, you scroll down to the bottom of the listing to read the description. And next thing you know, it says, here's 50 other products that are similar to this. Would you rather have one of these? That's not what you want. You want it to be people are buying from you as a brand because they love everything that you are about and what you stand for and what you are doing to keep them in a relationship. So obviously we've started a loyalty program. That's one of the things that we've done to keep them as loyal customers. We also have, birthday rewards that we do. I ask their input. I think that really helps with customer
Yeah.
loyalty too, is just asking people's input. That could be as simple as, a poll in your Instagram stories every once in a while. There's tons of ways to do it. And we do teach those a little more in depth inside of TYC. But the thing about it is that if you do it in like the right steps and you have the right mindset behind it, and you're building these relationships intentionally, then it's just going to help your brand and it moving forward. Like I said, it also, if you're somebody who struggles with selling or feeling like you're always selling, I'm that person. I don't like selling. Tracy knows this. She's like, you're so good at it. And I'm like, no, I'm not. But I sell in a different way because I just tell people what I'm excited about and then get them excited about that as well. And when they have that connection to you as a brand and they're already loyal to your product, I think that you being excited about something gets them excited. It's almost like when your kid has a new sport and they're like so excited to go to soccer and you're like, I guess I'm a soccer mom now. Yay. Like you actually get excited, you start buying gear. It's kind of like that. It's people want to watch you grow. And back to when we were on like TV and doing all this crazy stuff, we were literally just like a bunch of country girls, like me and my mom, flying out to LA. Like the news channel paid for us to go on this trip. It was super crazy. We ended up at the Oscars, like meeting all kinds of celebrities and stuff. And we were sharing that with our customer base the whole time. And it's just taking people on like the whole journey with you and them feeling like they're connected to you. I'm sure you can think of brands that you love and you keep shopping with because they do something similar to this. And it's not out of reach for you as a small business owner at all. You just have to have the right strategy in place and actually the follow through and the systems to make it happen.
That's true. I think the systems are really important because you mentioned like customer experience a few times
Mhm.
and walking into the store. So delivering that great experience and having like automation as much as you possibly can to deliver that experience is one of the ways that can make this almost like easy and on autopilot, like if you're literally not standing in front of someone. So do you have like a follow-up system that happens after someone places an
Yeah,
order on your
yeah.
website?
And
Because
I was,
that's like one of the best ways I think to create customer loyalty. Tell me
yeah.
about that a little bit.
Yeah, and I do want to mention that honestly, if you have a problem with customer return right now and you're not getting repeat orders from people, you might really want to look at what your customer service and your customer journey looks like,
Yes.
because it's probably not great if people aren't coming back. And you have to think of it like it's so much harder to sell online than it is in person for a lot of people, only because they're thinking, these people love me when they meet me and they see my personality in person. You have to make that come across on the internet too. And so if you're just sending, a bland thank you for your order and it's literally the one automated in Shopify and nothing comes after that, they're like, okay, like none of your personality, none of your customer service, nothing comes through, rather than just like you checking out on Amazon and getting a thanks for your order. We'll let you know when it's shipped. Like if that's your customer journey, that's not great.
Yeah, no, not great at all. So, and we also
Yeah,
in our TYC program, we're doing a whole training on email automation and using automation for delivering a great customer experience as well. So, selling when
yeah,
people first opt in, but like selling without selling, because that's what we teach you to do.
yes.
And
Mhm.
then follow-up processes, and then other types of automation that are super helpful, that are must haves, that will actually like literally can increase your online sales by up to 45%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some of the things that we do is in our post-purchase sequence, we have one that I think goes out about 3 days, maybe 24 hours. I don't know, 24 to 72 hours after they purchase, just telling them thank you and telling them a little bit about our brand for their first time purchasers. There's all these different automations that you can do. But anyways, the first one just tells them a little bit about our brand, how we appreciate them shopping with us, and to let us know if they have any questions about anything else. And that just starts to open up the waves of communication there. And I think that that's really helpful, because that's like the first step of being like, hey, it's almost like, you're following up with their purchase. They haven't received it yet, but you're just making sure that they do know that you care and you're thanking them for even making the purchase. Like I said, instead of just sending that automated order, like thanks for your credit card confirmation, and that being the end of the relationship with their first order experience.
Do you have a reply to in that? Like, meaning, do you
Yes.
ask them to reply to the email? And why don't we
Mhm.
talk
If they
about
have
why
any
that's
questions.
important?
Yeah, and that's also part of like all my automations. In every one of my automations, it does say, if you have any questions or concerns or need any help, just hit reply. I think the post-purchase one, it says like, if you have any changes that need to be made, just hit reply within the next like 24 hours so we can make those on your order. Because sometimes people order something and then they're like, oh wait, that wasn't correct. Birthstones, for instance. I get that all the time around Mother's Day. People accidentally order the wrong birthstone. They're like, wait, that was my birthstone, not my daughters. And so
Oopsie.
leaving it open to where they feel like they can hit reply to those is important for a lot of reasons. One, because
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys like pay attention to this, because it's one of my huge pet peeves, is when I get an email from a company and the actual
Oh
email
God.
says do not reply.
I know
I'm
what you're
like,
gonna say. I
freaking
just got
awesome.
something from that from a big marketer. I'm like, you have a do not reply email? Like,
It's
is
so
your marketing
frustrating.
person stupid? Like, I hate to say that. Like,
No.
seriously, who would have a do not
An
reply?
open-ended conversation. That's what it is. It's them saying, "Oh, I needed to tell you this, but I could care less what you could have to say back," right? And
Yes.
so that's what it looks like when you see those do not replies. That's how I feel about it. Because then you have to like go on a scavenger hunt, find an email if you actually had a question. It's just ridiculous. And so as small business owners, I think what's really important is having the option in every one of them where you're training them from the
Yeah.
get-go that they can talk to you. Like if people want to ask you a random question. I've had people say like, what Lightroom filter are you using on these photos? That was the only question they have. They didn't have a question about their order. They were just like, oh, she said I can ask a question. And so
I
that was
love
their
that.
question and I answered it, right? And so it's just opening that up to where they know that you're a human, you want to have conversations, and you care about their input or any concerns that they could have. It also helps with deliverability. And like basically, there's a lot of changes right now with Google and Yahoo, but it basically lets like the internet gods know that people care about what you're sending. So the
Yeah.
more replies and opens and clicks that are happening in your emails in general, the better it looks for you as a brand. And the more that they're going to say, oh, you know what? People do care to hear from
Yep.
these people. Let's like prioritize this and not send them to spam. And so there's a few reasons for that.
I love that. Yeah, it's one of my favorite tactics. And the other thing that I mentioned too is like depending on what you're doing, what type of business, it's actually a great way to gather information about your ideal customers, your existing customers and potential customers, to understand preferences, a little bit more about who they are. Like there's a lot of questions that you could just ask that are open-ended to get to know them. And I think this is really important for a high-touch jewelry brand. I used to do this all the time in my email newsletters. I don't call them newsletters, but my emails. I would say something like, P.S. I would love to know what's going on with you in your life and how things are going. Or P.S. if you'd like to get a custom project started, hit reply to this email and let's chat. By doing that, it makes it feel so much more personal, and people are just insanely on board to like take that next step, which is amazing. So we talked about automation, we talked about delivering great service, we talked about reply to in those emails, which is great. Is there anything else that you think is important to talk about in that customer journey or customer experience that we haven't touched on yet?
Yes, I think being very proactive to any issues or concerns that people may have is going to make or break how much people shop with you and stay with you. Every once in a while you will have to break up with a customer if they're being a little wild or demanding, or just like, I'm happy to say this is just not a good fit. Like, I don't
Yeah.
think we're a good fit. We only had to do that once, and the person was really sweet afterwards, and then they placed like an even bigger order when I tried to break up with them because I was like, this is handmade. Like, this is not going to look the same on every one of them. And anyways, then they were really sweet afterwards. But sometimes I think it's just being proactive, whether that's this isn't going to work out, I need to cancel your order. Or if it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. If something breaks, if something's lost, helping customers locate if they are missing something, just being really helpful from the get-go, I think is going to be a really important thing. Customer service these days is, like I said, the do not reply email is how a lot of people run their business. And I don't think that that's a good way to run their business.
No.
And I always say, like, we all know about the bullies online and the keyboard warriors. I treat people the same way I would if they were standing in front of me in my store or at a booth at a show, right? And I think that that's how everything should be handled. We used to do in-person events, and not that we still do a few, but we used to do really big in-person events, and people would, we would fly out to Massachusetts and things like that, and people would be like, who had never met us, would say like, oh my gosh, I feel like I've known you for like my whole life. And that's such a great compliment when you've only seen people inside of, say, a Facebook group or just replying to your emails, for them to feel like your personality shined through that much just in an email communication, that when they actually meet you, they feel like they've already known you. I think that that's a really great thing to have going on. And that'd be something I'd tell you to strive for, so that there's not this disconnect. If you are at an in-person event and somebody's like, oh, I loved your personality, and then they get these emails from you and they're like, oh, this is sterile and nothing like who I
Yeah.
thought you were. It's not
There's
the
no
same
flavor.
experience.
No.
Yeah, it's like not the same experience. So like really try and get the same experience across the board, I think is really important for the customer journey. And also pay attention to how you like to be treated. That's like my main
Yeah.
tip all the time, is like, how do you like to be treated? Do you like to be able to hit reply if you have a question about something? Do you like to get to know the person that is running the company? That's how I treat my social platforms, is the way I like to follow people and engage with them. That's the way that I engage my customers, because I know that that's the way I like to be like perceived, and also the way I like to take in content myself.
I love that. And I think all of that you said about like developing like consistency, and the way that I think about it is like consistency from person to brand in an ongoing way, so people just know what to expect. And I also wanted to touch on something, because you mentioned when there's a problem. The thing is, like, there's always going to be problems with jewelry. Jewelry's delicate, people are not delicate, things break, stones have natural inclusions in them. Like there's a lot of so many things that could go wrong. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Prongs break, like if you're doing stuff. And, the customer is always going to want to blame it on you. And the blame is not like really the issue here. It's like, how can you be of service? So one of the big mistakes that I see people make when they have issues with customers, and you said a couple of things that like throughout this whole process that I think are really important, is that number one, they get email from someone that something's wrong, and then they panic and freak out before they've even like listened to what the customer has to say. And so one of the best things that you can do is, if you need to take a minute, go take a minute, calm down, take a walk, get out of fight or flight before you respond to the people. Because trust me, from personal experience, I've done this way too many times, because I want to address an issue right now. And being in fight or flight when you talk to a customer is the worst possible thing that you can do, or to be triggered, if you understand what that means. Instead, calm down before you respond. If you need a minute, like a day to respond, I would send them an email saying, thank you so much for your email. I've received it. I want to make sure that I fully address this. Can you please give me 24 hours to get back to you? But I want you to know that I'm working on a solution. Just something very simple like that. And that will calm the customer down as much as you can. And if you're using like a customer service platform like we do, one of the things that I think can be frustrating from our perspective is that sometimes we're responding to customers, but they don't get it because it goes into a junk folder or for whatever reason. So follow up and make sure that you have different modes of contact for the customer. If you have their phone number, shoot them a text. If you don't hear back from them from the email, or if you have their Instagram, make sure that you follow up with them over there. Just find, if you're not hearing back from someone, make sure that you're finding multiple ways to get back to them. Also, if you are on Instagram, please, and you're dealing with customer service, please check your DMs every day. I will tell you that there's this big clothing brand that I bought from twice from their branded website. I'm never going to buy from their branded website again. And here's the reason why. I love the clothes. I would prefer to buy them at a store that will actually respond to my messages, because when you buy stuff online, sometimes it doesn't fit. Sometimes you have questions. Maybe the one time I put the wrong shipping address in, I didn't know that they were shopping via US or shipping via USPS, which I can't receive mail at one of my addresses, but I can receive UPS and vice versa. So there was this whole debacle. I messaged them 4 times on Instagram. I also sent them an email in their support. They do not reply to their tickets within a reasonable time. And it makes me never want to buy from them. And they lose money, me buying them wholesale or buying them from a store that buys the products wholesale from the other customer. So if you're serious about selling online, have that customer service desk manned, and at least in the very least respond, tell them that you're working on an issue, even if you don't have the answer yet, because sometimes it takes a while to figure out what is going to be the best solution. And the other thing that I want to mention, this is really important, and I don't know, Chelsea, how you feel about this, is that you want to make sure that your customers feel heard. Right or wrong is not the thing. You just want them to know and acknowledge what they're experiencing, even if it's, out of control or not necessarily like the right thing. Make them feel heard, because that will help calm them down and be more agreeable to finding like a win-win solution. What do you think about that?
Yeah, this goes back to the customer that we almost broke up with one time. So essentially, this is back when, I think the story will make a little more sense. We were doing wax seal jewelry, and each piece was handmade out of metal clay. And so each one is fired, molded, everything, filed, everything is completely one of a kind. But they had ordered like 5 of the same charm. And so we're expecting it to be made by a machine, almost looking like it was the same. Apparently, I didn't say enough on our website that it's handmade, so now I do. But she was mad, and sent us this email. And then she was like, the quality is not consistent, and was like super rude on it, left a bad voicemail, whatever. I sent her an email and I was like, I'm so sorry that you're not happy with the quality. I understand that they're not uniform. I explained why. I was like, I'm happy to refund you your money. I'll send you over a prepaid label. Like I heard what she was saying and I understood why she wasn't happy. I was like, this is why they're not uniform. Explained that, each one is handmade, hand fired, sculpted. And then she was like, this is when she ended up placing an even bigger order after she wrote back this, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry thing, because then she liked them even more, that she knew that they were handmade
Yep.
and not one of a kind. It was just this really bizarre thing. And so a lot of the time, if you just meet people, she was thinking it was defective. And then she was like, no, this is amazing. So it was just a bizarre situation. I've had it come up a couple times over the years here and there, but just simple, saying like, I'm so sorry that it's not what you expected. Here's what I can do for you. Right. That's
And
all
it's
you
not that
have
you
to
have to
say.
apologize for having defective jewelry. It's just not
Yeah,
what you expected.
no. Yeah, and also I think it's also really important to be very clear up front and have policies on your website. We even have it, like we have a repair listing for people, we have a year-long policy that if it breaks in a year, we'll restring it for you. Outside of that, or if you need a new size, we just have a $5 listing for you to do that, and it pays for your shipping back and forth and whatever. Like you can come up with something simple so that when people do have these situations or something comes up, you can remedy them like quickly and efficiently, and you have the policies in place. I think that's really important. And it does take a while when you're first getting started. Like things will come out of nowhere and you're like, oh crap, what do I do? Like, but now you add back to your FAQ, right? You're like, oops, this needs to be a policy now. And that's how you just keep refining those and making them make sense. But definitely not, I would say like what Tracy was saying, like hear people, understand what they're saying, but do not get defensive in a way that you're telling them that what they are seeing or what is experiencing is wrong, right? Like that's not what you want to do. You don't want to say, well, you don't understand, or you're not doing this, or that's not how this works, or you should have. Like that's not how you want to talk to customers, because
No.
that's also not how you would want to be talked to. And that's how I think that customer service needs to be addressed, is in the way that you would receive the information well. Like if you want to type your email when you're all fired up, that's fine. But if you even take a walk around the block or like give yourself an hour, I promise if you read it again, you're going to be like, wow, I sound really hateful.
Yeah. And it's really not a good idea. I've made this mistake before to record voice notes when you're triggered, because that comes across as resting bitch face over over the internet.
I would just not record the voice notes at all
I don't know.
when you're
I joke.
fired up.
I joke.
Yeah.
I like to record voice notes because I feel like I can communicate more, if that makes sense. And I do
Not when you're heated.
not when I'm
Not
heated.
when you're
Yeah,
heated.
not a good idea. But I say this because one time I had a customer and she was not right. She was wrong. This was for my custom business way back in the day when I first started Flourish and Thrive Academy. One of the students here referred me their friend, and her budget was below the budget that I felt comfortable with, but I wanted to help her because it was a friend. And, that I was like starting up two businesses, kind of, I was in the second year of my custom jewelry business and starting Flourish and Thrive Academy. So I was in startup mode and I was like, well, another $2,000 would help, even though this is a little bit below my budget. And I remember her like I explained the whole process. I told them that, once the piece is due, the balance is due immediately. And she was pushing out she wanted to push out the payment for like a month. And I was like, well, no, that's not how it works. Like you have to pay for it up front. And I explained that up front. And probably somewhere in there, whatever I wrote or said became misconstrued. And I followed up with her probably 3 times for that. And she sent me a scathing email saying something along the lines of like, I kept following up with her for payment when she said she couldn't pay. And I was just like, well, that's my policy. But, it was the way probably that it was said. And at that point, I'm out the cost of making the piece. And so at that moment is when I changed my deposit policy to 65%, so that I could at least make sure that all of the fees were paid for upfront, all my stones are paid for upfront, and then the balance is just like a little bit of profit that's left over. So I'm never going to be like out money up front. And that's the scary part when you're doing that type of jewelry. So anyway, great chat. So there's one other thing that we talked about today on Instagram, and this is kind of like a little bit of a side tip. Let's discuss the scavenger hunt strategy that also increases brand loyalty, because this is like super fun. We'll just talk about it at a high level. If you want to pop on over to our Instagram, we'll link our little live that we did right before this episode and check it out.
Yeah. So if you create a very loyal customer base, you are emailing and releasing and doing things consistently. And personally, I do not love writing copy. I don't love writing emails, and I get bored with them. And so out of boredom, I came up with this scavenger hunt idea to get our customers involved in opening the emails, looking for something special in there, and then hitting reply. Whoever hit reply first and got the correct word that they were looking for that was hid inside of it, then I sent them a $25 gift card for that week's release. You obviously wouldn't have to give them any incentive. If you wanted to, you could. I like it because I knew that they were going to buy. But it was a good way for me to get out of my boredom and start doing something fun and exciting in my emails. And it's also a fun way for your customers to interact and communicate with you and just have something fun going on. Like, right? People get so many emails.
Yeah.
Life gets boring.
Yep.
You're like, do I need to open this one? But if they know that there's a fun reason to open it, then I think that that's a really good incentive. And it just helps with engagement and also just creating another fun thing in your community. Like if you're trying to create a loyal brand and building your own brand, consistency in having things be fun and creating like a sense of community are just really, really important.
They are extremely important. So I wanted to mention that. So I have 2 more questions for you. 1 or 2 more questions. We're going to see. What have you seen or helped or like been blown away by how some of our students have increased their brand loyalty? Do you have any specific stories or shares that you'd like to share with the community?
Yeah. Specifically, I like helping people realize that and getting them to see the full picture of like how a brand works and what that is. I think a lot of the time people think like, a brand is just your branding and like your logo, and that's not what it is. And so really helping students come like full circle, understand, how their dream client plays into how they speak and how they do everything, how style their photos with that in mind, with their brand, and like just the full circle of how everything works in the stages and in the flow of it. And then people become so much more confident because of that. It's not like, I don't know who I'm talking to. I don't know what
Mhm.
colors I should use. I don't know what language I should use, even down to designing a collection. Especially if you have like a loyal customer base and like a good return rate, you should be designing with them in mind when you're doing everything,
Yes.
because you know them so well that like, for instance, we have a stack of the month that we do. And I will, because I know my customers so well at this point, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I know so-and-so is going to buy this. They're going to love this. I can see them wearing it and posting pictures, in Greece this summer or things like that. And so I design with people in mind at this point, because we do have such a loyal customer base that I'm really thinking of them and what they want to buy and what they will buy. It's still my style and my take on everything, but it's like I already know it's going to sell before it's even released because I know them so well. And I love teaching other people how to do that.
I love that. That's so great. It's amazing. All right, Chelsea, you're teaching brand loyalty in our TYC program. Why are you excited about that?
Because I'm going to be teaching you step by step how to create an amazing customer experience and how to turn your one-time buyers into repeat buyers so that every time you release a product, it sells out.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing.
That's my favorite thing to talk about.
Yeah. So train your customers to buy from you online is starting at the end of April. We're going to have a link in the show notes if you want to get in for early bird applications. We are offering a discount right now if you apply before the early bird deadline, and a special bonus one-on-one coaching call if you get in and pay in full early. So definitely check that out if you've been thinking about the train your customers to buy from you online program. Definitely an awesome opportunity right now to save a lot of money and get in early, and then also get coached one-on-one by Chelsea or one of our other coaches. You get to choose. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that if you want to get a taste of what it's like to grow your online sales and utilize some of our best in show, and I mean that literally and figuratively, best in show strategies, how to build your audience and email list online and off, join us for the Supercharge Your Online Sales Challenge. We're going to be challenging you to get into action to make money in real time. It starts April 8th, so get on the wait list right now and make sure that you're signed up. You can head on over to flourishthriveacademy.com/supercharge to get on the list and join us for that free challenge. It is incredible and one of my favorites. Chelsea, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Ciao.